And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Paydirt. Paydirt is a game by Tori Neiman, who is probably well known for designing Alien Frontiers. Paydirt's from Crash Games, and it's about mining gold in somewhat modern times, where you're going out and trying to get as much gold as you possibly can. A game about getting gold? Fantastic. Let's take a look at it. Here's a bit of the components for the game. This is the big construction hat is for whoever is the start player. I want to point your attention to these gold pieces. Now these pieces aren't all out of game, but these are actually colored gold. They look really good. And even on the video here, they have a nice shiny feel to them. I really enjoyed these components. And your goal is to get the most of this gold over the course of the game. To do that, you are going to be using workers each turn to pull tiles off of claims that you have. So if I put 3 workers here and 2 workers here, I could pull a tile here with one guy. Then this guy would pull it over one, this guy would pull it over one, this guy would pull it here, and he'd pull it here. And as time goes by, these tiles are going to eventually get to the last spot, where I'll flip them over to see how much gold I get. And in this case, I get 4 gold. That's a barren tile. A barren tile is 2 to 4 gold. There's promising tiles that are 3 to 5 gold, and rich tiles, which are 4 to 6 gold. Now, every time you use these machineries, you're going to have wear put on them each time you use it. So you're going to have to send a guy down here to clean up 2 of the wear. So, because once these are all worn out, they can't be utilized. And that's essentially what players are going to do each turn of the game. But to make life easier, there's an auction phase of the game. And in the auction phase, one player is going to pick either a new piece of equipment or a worker or a new claim. They'll pick it. It's a normal auction going around until everyone passes. One person will win it. Let's say I put up this loader for auction. Then someone else can put up something for auction, but they can't auction from the equipment pile. They have to auction from something else. Let's say they auctioned off a worker, and then the next person could do one or the other. If you get a claim, if you win a claim, you have more tiles that you can move across. And you'll see there's different kinds of claims. This middle one, this one here, has 2 rich tiles and 1 promising tile, which, could be anything. Let's see what they are. This promising here is a 4. And this rich tile is a 4, and this rich tile is a 5. Up here you have a rich, barren, and promising tile. This has arrows on. That means you have to take the promising tile first, then the barren, then the rich tile. Also, you'll notice that there's minimum bids on these. Over here, the workers will give you special abilities. Like Kaylee, equipment hardships don't affect you. The McGillis brothers give no special ability, but they give you 2 more workers that you'll be able to send out each round. Julie and Cash gives you a worker, and during the income phase, at the end of every turn, players get $2,000. He gives you an extra $1,000. And then the machinery. Machinery is very important, because as you get machinery, it's going to replace what you have. Here in the middle of the board, you see I have an old loader, and here I have a Kawasaki loader. The great thing about this is when I'm bringing tiles, it only needs to move on here once before it goes to the next one. So if you set your machinery up correctly, you can move stuff across very quickly and more efficiently. So each turn of the game, players will be auctioning off some of the stuff in the middle. Then players are going to send workers out. They're going to either send workers out to run the machinery or to fix it. Players can also send workers up here to the sales office, where they can sell nuggets of gold for money if you need them. And you can also go to the gear supplier, where you can buy some gear on the side of the board. You have spots for gear on your board, and each gear can be used once a turn, and each time it's used, it takes a token and will need to be repaired as time goes by. So that's kind of the way the game works, with one major thing I left out, and that is called hardships. At the end of each round, whoever has the fewest gold takes hardship cards equal to the number of players. So let's say we're playing 4 players. They would take 4 hardship cards. They go through these, they pick one they want, they give it to the next lowest gold, and so on. And finally, whoever has the most gold gets the final card. That person also becomes the first player. These cards also have a temperature on it, and the person who was the start player each round, whatever the temperature is on their card, the temperature is moved down that much, and when the temperature gets to 0, there's one more round and the game is over. Now these hardship cards are just that. They are hardships. Like this one. If you get this one until the next hardship phase, you can't use abilities on personnel cards. Here you have to pay $1,000 for each of your workers. That moves Paydirt tiles. Here you have to, all your equipment, camp, and claim gear you buy come with wear cubes equal to its durability. Here, one of your personnel cards is unusable until the next hardship phase. So these are almost always very negative, although some personnel can help you avoid some of the hardships. And so players will be getting those, passing those around, and then they go to the next phase. After the last phase is triggered, players play through the whole round. Whoever has the most gold, with the big ones being 5 and the small ones being 1, is the winner. There really is gold in their hills. Okay, I want to make something clear here at the very beginning, and that is I like this game. And I say that because it's going to sound like I don't for a little while. Let me tell you why. There's a lot of things I did not like about the game play itself. One of those things is the hardship phase. I'm never a big fan of games just smacking you around, okay? And this one has a major smackdown problem, and the hardship phase takes up a really good chunk of the game. I'd rather the game be about moving the gold across. That's the most fun thing. And yet the hardship phase was a big chunk because one person gets those 4 cards, they look them over for a very long time, then they give them to the next person who looks over their cards for a long time. The last person has an agonizing choice. Also, it's one of the most brutal and heavy-handed and obvious catch-up mechanism I've ever seen in a game. Oh, you're winning? Now you're not winning as much. I don't know. I mean, hardship is one thing. I felt like this felt like a tacked on mechanism to keep the player scores close. It does, but I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that. Secondly, the equipment tiles. They're really neat, these equipment tiles. Gear supply tiles. But they're almost never nearly as good as the people. The personnel tiles are much more useful, or the actual equipment that you can, upgrading your excavators and wash plants and such. That brings me to another problem, is money is tight in this game. I mean, super tight. That's why I never buy gear tiles, because they're so expensive. And sure, you can go sell gold nuggets, but that's what you need to win the game, and you actually have to get these gold nuggets first. Finally, I'm not a big fan of the fact that there's really one thing you're doing in this game, moving a gold tile from here to here. And it is you're trying to be as efficient as possible, and that's a cool idea, but there's not a lot of variety. You're just trying to make the most efficient way to get the tiles across the board. And you can lose on luck sometimes. If you just get a bunch of tiles with low gold on them, there's not much you can do. Yeah, there's some gear that lets you change stuff out, but if you don't get that, then you're just going on luck. And there's rich tiles that are 4, and there's poor tiles that are 4, and you can beat someone out just by getting better tiles than them. Now, like I said, all that may sound like I don't like the game, but I actually think it's quite a good game. Those are things, I think it could have been fantastic had those things. The components are great, the theme is strong, and it's really fun, in my opinion, to move the gold, to try to make that as efficient as possible. You're going to make machines that can take more wear, or you're going to make them shorter, or you're going to try to get more workers. You're going to have personnel who, when you use a certain piece of equipment, they don't actually cause any wear at all. How are you going to, when are you going to sell gold nuggets? Maybe to get some money to try to, it's kind of a cool concept, and I really dug it, no pun intended. So I think some people are going to be thrilled about this game. For some people, the hardship tiles the cards aren't going to bother them, and they don't mind that you're just trying to be efficient at one thing here. I would have liked more strategy options. I would have liked maybe cutting out the auction and putting in some kind of way to draft the cards, or maybe make money just not so nearly as tight as it is. But maybe the game's just supposed to be that way, a brutal look at the gold mining industry. So it's good. I think it could have been much, much better, but still a solid game and definitely a unique theme and idea.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
Shut the door.